Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. And to our agenda, I'm going to add the standard grant agreement from VTrans. That's going to help with some riprap we're going to get some money for. And then the bids for the stacking conveyor, we're going to put under new business, and we'll look at the bids that we got. And with that, we'll move on. The minutes from our previous meeting, June 21st, we don't have a quorum of members that were at that meeting, so we'll put that back and deal with that at our next meeting. We have warrants. We have to ratify warrants 27, Rec Board number 12, Conservation Commission number 9, and the Cemetery Fund number 4. Those were warrants that came in at the end of our fiscal year that had to be.
I'll move that we ratify warrants 27, Rec Board number 12, Conservation Commission number 9, and the Cemetery Fund number 4.
What about the other ones?
I think we're going to do that separately.
Oh, then I'd second that.
Okay. Discussion. Okay, so under warrant 27, that was for a total of $67,989.99. There was a $29,217 payment towards the new fire station. And there was about $31,000 that was storm-related work the highway department was working with. And we have a grant, emergency grant, from VTrans that will cover something like $28,000. But so, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Then moving on to this new fiscal year, we have warrants 1, 1P, and the Conservation Commission number 1.
I'm going to move that we approve for payment warrant 1, warrant 1P, but withhold Conservation Commission number 1 for more documentation. I guess there's some question about the grant that it's representing, so I'd like to get more information on that.
I'd move approval.
Okay, you're seconding?
Or I meant to say, I'll second.
Well,
I second that.
Okay.
Thank you.
any discussion? Okay, warrant 1 is for $20,666. Most of that is passive insurance. That's the insurance policy we have with Vermont League of Cities and Towns. Also paying the dues, our annual dues to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. And then we have some payroll transfers and sundry items for the highway department. So, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now, so now we come to visitors and public comments. Jean, do you have
I'm just here for
the
the discussion,
Oh, okay.
and then I will say what I want to say.
Okay. So we have we invited Mary Ann Runge, who's the school nurse,
Yes.
to we're going to talk about the Miller Fund, and we have also
Jen O'Neill, I'm the school counselor.
okay. So you want to come up? Great. So, how do you want to get started? Do you want to tell us about, the Miller Fund is a fund that was started by Fred Miller in the late 1920s, and it was for the care of needy children, the medical, to be used for the temporary care of needy minor children in the town of Dummerston. And the select board has been the trustees of those funds. And we've been having discussions about should we be investing those funds to get a higher rate of return. And anyone can apply to the select board to use funds from the Miller Fund, but typically you are the one who refers children
Right,
to us. So do you want to take it from there?
okay. When I first started requesting money from the Miller Fund, which was probably quite a few years ago, it was for usually medical, eyeglasses, dental for students. Since Dr. Dinosaur has started, eyeglasses, eye exams, medical, dental needs for children are all being taken care of by Dr. Dinosaur. So a lot of these students that attend Dummerston School, we don't see the need. Once in a while, it'll be where they've gone through their glasses and broken them, and Medicaid will not pay for them. And I've requested monies from the Miller Fund to purchase another pair of glasses for the student. So that's what we used to do, but Dr. Dinosaur now covers all of those medical costs for students. The greatest need that I see now for students, and it's not medical, but I would consider it for the emotional health of these students. One of the criteria, I know, has to be that they either have to be on free or reduced. Right now, this past year at Dummerston, there were 33 students on free and 17 unreduced, which is almost a third of the student population at Dummerston. Requesting monies for students to be able to go to camp, to me, is important because a lot of these students would not be able to get the opportunity. I know last year there was a question about, I had requested money for just girls, because the boys, there was, I think, 5 boys from Dummerston that went to the Green Mountain Conservation Camp, that went through the Vermont Trappers in Vernon, who paid for all of the boys to go through them. The request that I made recently came to my attention, I think it was on the very last day of school, that these students could really benefit. One of them, mom had lost her job. The students wanted to do summer camp. There was a possibility that that would happen before, and it wasn't gonna happen now. Mom said that she did have some money that she could contribute, and all of the parents have been contributing money for going to camp. Green Mountain Girls Camp had given girls scholarships too, but their money for the last 2 has dried up, so they don't have any more money. I reached out to Billy at Green Mountain Camp and asked her if there was anybody else possible that she could think of that may be able to help these girls go to camp.
Yeah. Have anything to add?
No, and I think with the increase in free and reduced and having students have an opportunity in the summer to do something else, they come back to school more ready to learn and more ready to be successful in the way that they can. And I know we can't help everyone, I wish we could. The other situation, the last one that came about really at the end of the year, we thought a family was moving and ended up that they weren't. Had we known that, they would have been in that first round that we sent to you. So that's just why we're back here today.
Any questions?
Well, the select board actually addressed this one, did you say it was 2009? Yeah.
The select board in 2009.
Right,
Yes.
came up with some guidelines, And I just copied the very top of it, the guideline. And you may actually have this. It says it was created under the last will and testament of Fred Miller, dated January 29, 1931. The fifth paragraph of the will states that the interest and income from the estate is to be used and expended by the select board for the temporary care of needy minor children in the town of Dummerston. And as Zeke just said, we are in the process of addressing, how to invest the Fred Miller Fund. There's about $100,000 in it right now. And quite honestly, it's in a money market account, not yielding a lot of income. And we're going to be addressing your request later on this evening. The concern that I have is that both last year and this year, we have expended quite a bit more than the interest and income. So, but I think that by the time we're through with this conversation, not this evening, but, we're going to, have it produce, significantly more income. And also then maybe at that point, we can let you know, for budgetary purposes about how much you can hope to expend during the course of the year. But I thought what I would do is just give that to you in case you don't have it already. That's what we're charged with administering.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
And I guess my concern has always been, I think we were involved in the 2009 discussion, but my concern has always been that we should protect the fund as much as we can, because should we ever have a natural disaster or a major fire at somebody's home, we may want to really have those funds available for somebody at that point that is financially needy. And so I've always had a struggle with some of the requests. If it's really a needy person or just somebody would like to do something. So it's always a struggle that I've had, because I'd like to protect the funds, so if we ever did have a major need, that we would have the funds there. So I always struggle with
That's understandable.
some of the requests. And so I just wanted you to be aware of that. I needy might have a different connotation to me than other people, I guess, maybe. So I interpret it to be somebody that has undergone a medical problem or fire at their house, or they actually have a significant financial need for help for children. But that's just my thought.
Yeah. Of course, has been stated, Steve, times have changed a lot since 1931 or whatever it was, and there's now much more of a social safety net, for a lot of these kids anyway.
I will say that, each year at town meeting, there's a potential for new select board members to be voted in, and so how that board, new board each year, sometimes they take a very different view of how the Miller Fund should be used, and sometimes it goes this way, it goes back that way.
And what I would tell you that
later on tonight, we'll take a vote and we'll see which way we're leaning now.
What we've even thought about is for next year, figuring out some way of maybe trying to raise some money. Because we used to have the Nell Sather Fund for the district that was in memory of a woman whose goal was to send children to camp, and there used to be a lot more money with that fund, and that has sort of dried up. We used to do a lot of fundraising for that at the Welcome Center and writing letters and doing different activities, but most of the people that were on that committee have retired from the district, so there was only a couple of us left. Okay, so
That's happening everywhere.
And those funds were available this year, and we spread that out over 7 different students, I believe, and used some other funds for a couple more students, and And I totally can appreciate what you're all saying about it. You know, we just had the situation and Marianne and I worked together on a lot of these cases, and I think that when we look at the world at large, things are different, and to allow students an opportunity to kind of get them ready to come back to school, to experience some be ready to experience academic success. The families are very grateful. The one family even came to me and said, you know, if things are different from us next year, I'm going to give you some money to help somebody else. So I just think, you know, we came to you, and again, I'm rambling, but I just wanted to say I do appreciate where you're all coming from.
Well, and I was going to add also that it's really thanks to Hugh Warden that, you know, this matter is really on our radar screen, if you will, and it's receiving a lot more attention than, you know, in the other, you know, 4 years that I've been on this board. One thing that we're sort of hindered by this evening is there are only 3 of 5 of us, and that sort of complicates decision making. You know, we would all have to agree on something in order to take any action. So we will be addressing the investment, I think, at a future meeting.
What's the deadline for getting these kids, these 2 additional? What do you?
It is,
The both day camp, right?
yes, June,
It's a calendar,
Right.
okay, July,
It's the week of the 24th.
the 24th of July, is the very last day, or the very first day of the very last week of camp at Green Mountain Girls Camp.
Okay, so,
And this is just a day camp. This is an
Yeah.
overnight camp where they go and
Mhm.
do that piece too.
okay,
Yep. Well, thank you.
okay.
Yeah, I think it was good to have a visit, a discussion with you.
Well, we really appreciate all that you have done. And this year, I did speak to a couple of parents and just say that it would be nice to let the select board know what the kids, what they did at camp, what they enjoyed, just to let you be aware of what they did.
Going to have a thank you letter writing party during lunchtime, one of the first weeks back at school.
I think Jean had a thought.
Jean Wall, I have a few comments about the Miller Fund in a different category. I was auditor for 21 years here and watched that Miller Fund go down, down, down. Not against it going to children to go to camp, but I'm finally glad that the select board is really looking into it. I was a recipient of a scholarship to go to Green Mountain Camp when I was 100 years ago. And so it's a great experience for kids. Of course, we didn't have doors. I read that article that was in the paper. Oh, that was wonderful. I would like to tell you also, and I don't know if you know, that the Community Chest, Dummerston Community Chest, has given scholarships and given money to Green Mountain Camp every single year for the last 5 years, over $500. So if their scholarship is dried up, that isn't necessarily, we send our money in the spring, so they did have money this year. And I think you addressed another question that I had was about the boys, because I kept thinking, okay, what about the boys?
So the boys, there are boys going this year to Green Mountain Conservation Camp, and I think that is a great camp.
Oh, it is. My son went there, and but they also got scholarships. They had to write essays, and that would be a good incentive, I think, for some of these children that want to go to camp, not just to, say, okay, you're going on a scholarship. But I realize society is different. But I just didn't know if the school knew that the Dummerston Community Chest does give money every year.
And I know we tapped into the church this year too.
And we give them money too.
So I think Dummerston is very fortunate for people that live in Dummerston, because it is a very caring community. And I just have seen over the years from when I started at Dummerston, to present day, the needs of kids that have
Mhm.
increased. You know, I look at even the Christmas stocking that was drying up this year. And I had parents come in and donate clothes, you know, jackets, snow pants, for kids that didn't get the stocking, so they would. So I think, you know, it's not a great time for a lot of people.
It's not, I've seen it in a lot more, in different issues than this, but I just wanted to get that out there so that people knew that we do the best we can, and we try to share everything that we get within the Dummerston community. It doesn't go outside of town except for a couple of hospitals, which are used by everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much
Thank
for
you
coming
very
in.
much.
It's nice to have a discussion anyways.
Well,
Yeah.
no, we really appreciate
Yeah.
the communication and, you know, we're gonna be trying to figure out something to, because it seems like every year the need is increasing for kids. And they don't have any control over, the kids don't. So
Right, yeah.
that's where we come in.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for Okay. So, moving on, we have the State of Vermont Standard Grant Agreement. This is for V-Trans, and this is to get $7,200 for some riprap.
I'll move that we sign the standard, State of Vermont Standard Grant Agreement for $7,200?
Yes,
$7,200.
And I'll second that.
okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it just needs one signature. Okay, so is there anything, moving on, that's all I have in the road foreman's report. And the road foreman's not here.
I think we should acknowledge the road crew. Dummerston got hit really hard with that last storm, and I think the crew did an exceptional job getting roads back in shape and passable, and I just think they should be commended. They worked a lot of hours and did a good job.
I would second that. I'd also say we got a lot more damage than we did during Irene.
Yes.
And there are also, I'd commend our road foreman for getting in touch with local excavators and contractors to get the help and get the roads back in shape as quickly as they did.
Yeah, they did good.
Yes. So, moving on, correspondence for information. Anything there that you want to go into more detail?
Well, I just thought this would be an opportunity to mention, you know, Fred Leaves, I guess, emailed, and you responded to him on recycling, but, and I meant to swing by the town yard at some point today, but I did not. How are things going? I take it the bins are gone?
Yes, bins are
Okay,
gone.
Okay, and that.
The bins
how-
are gone in Putney too.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
quite a mess where the bins left,
Yeah.
or there was today.
Huh. Well, in fact, that was my question, is there, you know, I take it there's no mess up here? I will swing by maybe on my way home, yeah, I mean, hopefully it did not come as a surprise to folks.
Hopefully, we'll,
I would have suspected possibly that what I saw in Putney might have been out of the area people that were dropping things off there and probably
Yeah.
thought the containers were coming back. Didn't know that there was quite a pile of stuff there.
My wife was just up in Brookline, and there were bins there, I think it was maybe it was this week, and with a sign that said, you know, Brookline residents only.
Yeah, yeah.
And how that's enforced, I'm not sure. But all towns are struggling for sure.
Right, and,
Are we moving on from that topic? 'Cause
Yeah.
I wonder what we do about the notice of violation at Circle K. I mean, every year we just approve their license, and I just wonder if we have to be paying a little more attention, that's all. I mean, this is the second time that they've had a violation, so.
right, I know that they have to, let's see, attend a class, I think there's a fine. But,
Yeah,
you know, I don't know if there's much more than that.
I just wonder at what point does it have some effect on our decision as the control board, so.
Yeah.
Well, my question about that, Steve, is this is a tobacco violation.
yeah, yeah.
Are we in charge of
Yeah, we have
tobacco?
to, we have to, approve their application for their license that they then forward to the state.
Okay, I remember approving liquor licenses,
Yeah.
but not tobacco.
Liquor, tobacco is part of that one
Right,
that they
yeah.
got.
I see, okay.
So I know in the past, some select board members had, because they were anti-tobacco, had just voted against it every time, but,
Oh, yeah, okay, it's just a thought I had is.
Yep. you know, we could, send them a letter saying, because we're copied on this, that we, would like them to,
I guess we could wait and see if there's another offense, and if there
Yeah.
was a third offense, I think at that point we should speak up.
yep,
Okay.
Mhm.
okay, all right. Let's see, moving on to correspondence for discussion and or action. VLCT is looking into short-term rentals, and they have a working group, and wanted to know if we wanted to nominate anyone to be in that working group. And of course, the people that aren't here, you know, come to mind, right?
Real quickly.
Yeah, but I don't know, unless anyone here has a really strong, I would think this would be something the planning commission would be better suited for than us.
Or perhaps Roger,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
if he were interested.
So I think I believe the planning commission was copied on this, but yes?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
I would think that's where the most benefit would be, probably.
I think so. So unless anyone, we,
Wanted to go.
okay. All right, then let's put that underneath another set of folders and move on to new business. We have to set the tax rate, the 2017 fiscal, I guess it's a 2018 tax rate, actually. Let's see here. Is it? Yes, okay, the tax rate for 2017. And it goes into 18, but, so, everyone have a copy of that? So, we have a 16.29% increase in the municipal budget, as I recall. So, so when we set the tax rate, we usually set it so we have a little bit of a
Mhm.
buffer, but, now, let's see, a 16.29% increase. That for a $2,000, a house that's appraised at 200,000, that will mean, just doing this off the top of my head, $54 increase in their municipal tax. for the coming year. Is that
Sounds about right.
Jean? Okay. So, what would you like to do here?
So these numbers here, is this our, this isn't our cushion, that's this here.
Our cushion would actually be here. These are the,
Oh, okay.
there's our grand list, and if we multiply it by this tax rate, then we will raise this amount of money. We need to raise about 48,000 and something. So at this rate, we have a $300 buffer. We just,
I know in the past, we've kind of looked at like $1,000 buffer
Yeah.
or so.
yeah, that's what I had in mind.
I think I'd like to see us set the rate at,
0.323 would give
Right.
us just a little over $1,000.
and that's not a lot of a cushion on $800,000, that's pretty tight budget.
Right, you've gotta,
I think I'll move that we set the tax rate at 0.323.
okay, that'd give us
That would give us $850,035.87.
I would second that.
okay. Any more discussion on that?
Do we have the education tax rate at this
Not
time?
yet.
I
What's
believe,
that?
The education tax rate, we don't have that yet, do we?
I don't, not that I know of, I
don't think
haven't
so.
been in since last Friday. so-
I think the education rate is, I think actually the school budget is down a little bit this year for Dummerston. So,
Yeah, it would be
But-
nice to know what the total impact would be, but.
I don't think we usually get that for another couple
Right.
weeks.
Well, I saw an email, but it's nothing that I go into, but I did see something come down and, Laura could tell you more about that.
okay, so we've got a motion and a second to go with that 0.323 municipal tax rate for a buffer of $1,090.87. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's our tax rate. I will let the treasurer know. Okay. All right. So our zoning administrator reminded us, sent us a little reminder that he's been our zoning administrator for very close to 3 months. And he was under the impression that there would be a 3-month review, which isn't unreasonable.
Which we discussed and there was gonna be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I wish Hugh was here, because Hugh would be a good one to
yep, and
facilitate that.
yeah, and I think Geraldine had worked on the format that we were going to use.
And they're both expected at the next meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did speak with Roger today. I saw him and told him that 2 of the people likely involved in his review were not going to be here tonight, but that we would get this ball rolling so we get his 3-month review done before it's time for his annual review.
Well, I would suggest that we actually do it at the next meeting, and although I will not be there, I don't think that presents a problem.
Okay, I don't recall whether we were going to have, a select board representative sit down with them outside of the meeting and conduct this, or have the, people come and meet with the whole board. I don't recall, that's why I wish.
And it would be an executive session, I would expect.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I would defer to Geraldine on that question.
okay, and what are your thoughts? Or someone with a better memory than me, at least.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I for some reason, I thought we were having somebody meet with them independently,
Yeah.
not meet with the whole board, but
Right, I mean, Gerald suggested all town employees have kind of a liaison on the board,
Yeah,
and that, they, meet with, with the person sort of to find out how things are going. And I don't know who offhand who would be Roger's liaison. My guess would be, it might be Hugh.
My guess would be Hugh.
Yeah.
Hugh, right, because Hugh worked with
And
him.
Hugh's not here, of course.
Right, yeah.
Yep,
And by having said that, it would be nice to have an open discussion with all of us too, so. Do we dare nominate Hugh to do that?
I would, sure, he's not here.
I'll move that
Okay.
Hugh be our contact to do the formal 90-day review with Roger.
Okay,
Well, when you say, Steve, formal 90-day review, doesn't that involve all members of the select board?
But I would think he would go and meet with him ahead of time.
Right, and I agree, but I guess I wouldn't call that the formal review. The formal review would be with the select board. It would be more of a status report, if you will.
So we'll have Hugh do a preliminary interview
Exactly,
with
yep.
Roger.
Yep,
I'll amend my motion to say that
okay.
Hugh would do a preliminary interview.
Well,
Okay.
What do you think of that, Zeke?
I'm trying to think, we sort of handed the fine tuning of our review process over to Geraldine.
Yeah,
and I,
With her not here, I kind of, every year, I've been on the select board, we've had a different process, and frankly, it's like reaching into my pocket, trying to get a dime out, and I've got, a dozen other things, I can't
well,
figure out what's what.
I was the liaison with our former zoning administrator, and I met with the that former administrator. And I can't remember if we then had a formal review, but that was my role as sort of intermediary, if you will. And I think that that's what we're talking about with Hugh. Geraldine's point is there shouldn't be any surprises in evaluations. It should be sort of an ongoing discussion. But I think that it would be appropriate for Hugh to, visit with Roger before, the evaluation in executive session.
Okay, I'd go along with that. Any more thoughts, discussion?
which would sort of be my motion, having him do a preliminary.
Yep.
But I don't think we got a second yet, did we?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, so we'll let Hugh know that he should get in touch with Roger. And if he wants to check in with Geraldine for whatever format we're using, he was working on reviewing League also, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I think that was in conjunction with you, Steve, right?
yeah, and I'm sorry to say, we really never did one with Lee last fall.
Mhm.
It's still in limbo.
Okay. All right, if we have to revisit this at our next meeting, or if we
Mhm.
get information that gives us some, a little more clarity on this, we can revise
Mhm.
our plan, but, I guess the thing we wanna do is move forward with this and, give Roger, opportunity for a review as soon as possible.
Yep,
And do you want to put
absolutely.
that under upcoming agendas, just
Sure.
for future reference?
Mhm. All right. Okay, so, moving on, we have a request for funds from the Miller Fund, from Mary Ann Runge, the school nurse. She is requesting $450 for the Green Mountain, to send 2 children to the Green Mountain, let me see. Yes, 2 children to the Green Mountain Girls Camp.
Can I have
What would you like to do?
Can I have that file that, was it correspondence for information where, oh, it's all in here. Or no, it's not in here. The,
Blue?
yeah,
There we go. I don't think that's, oh, no, that is, sorry.
I would prefer not to make a motion. I'd rather not move.
Okay.
I don't want to make a negative motion, is what I'm trying to
All
say.
right, I'm going to move that we spend $450 from the Green Mountain, from the Miller Fund for this request from Marianne Runge for the Green Mountain Girls Camp. Do I have a second?
I'll second it only so that we can discuss it.
Okay, good. All right, move and second. Discussion?
Well, I'm going to speak against the motion, and this is no reflection on, the school nurse or guidance counselor or Green Mountain Camp for that matter. But earlier I read the provisions of Fred Miller's will, where it says the interest in income is to be used and expended by the select board for the temporary care of needy and minor children. And before our last meeting, I asked the treasurer for a report of how much was earned and expended, by the Miller Fund for the last 2 years. And this last year, we earned $133.84 and spent $1,300. The prior year, we earned $156 and spent $2,129. And my point is, and we're going to be talking later on about the investment so that we can really bolster that income so that there's more available in subsequent years. But again, the reading in the will says the interest in income. It doesn't say the interest income and principal. So that's why, although I'm sure that this would be a worthwhile expenditure, I don't think it falls within the parameters of Fred Miller's will, and that's why I would vote against this motion.
Okay. I would vote in favor of it, given that we did take funds to send, I'm not sure how many of these two girls' classmates to camp this summer. That they sort of missed the train only because they thought they were going to be moving. It turns out that they're not moving. I had a couple people speak to me about, it would be simple if they were asking for eyeglasses or some medical thing. That would be an easy deal. Two people spoke to me about how being able to go to camp, was a life-changing experience for them. There are some families in town where, they can't afford this, and sometimes being able to, being on summer vacation, to get out of the house and spend time in a supportive environment like the Green Mountain Camp is an experience that goes a long way to shaping who these children are going to grow up to be. So I think similar to some of the medical expenses that might enhance their later life, this experience I think is a worthwhile one, and where we have already sent some kids to the camp. I'd go ahead, $450 isn't going to break the fund, and to make spend the money for these last two kids to go for this summer. So that would be why I would vote in favor. Any more discussion?
I think generally I would be opposed also. My concern is that we're changing our criteria in the middle of the season. as you said, we already okayed some funds. I certainly would not want to do this in the future. I would like us to get back where possibly these are more needy situations that have the funds available. I do feel some commitment to honoring, although I agree with Joe, and I agree with the will. I mean, we shouldn't interpret the will differently than the person made it, but I also feel like we're on a course and we shouldn't change it in the middle. I wish I could take a chicken way out and abstain, but I guess but it's not gonna carry if Joe doesn't support it anyway, so.
Okay. All right, we ready for a vote? Okay. All right, motion to spend $450 from the Miller Fund. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, the motion does not pass.
And Joe certainly has a good foundation for his thought, yeah.
Can I
I
ask a question?
think we have a good thoughts for spending it, so that's.
Yeah, it's a tough one, yeah.
Mhm. Okay,
Did Gene-
so if,
Gene have something? to say?
okay, just one moment. If, you know, so if anyone wants, in the viewing audience, you know, wants to contribute to sending these kids to camp, I'll speak with the town clerk and see where they might send some money if they want, or see if that's something that can happen before the 24th of July. So, Jean?
I just wanted to point out that this is a new fiscal year, if you're gonna be expending the money now. And one of the questions I forgot to ask before, are the same people
That was
going
a
every
good
year?
point.
I'm sorry.
No, that was a good point,
Okay.
good point.
You know, that hat. Are the same girls going every
we
year
don't-
or
we don't-
every other year?
We don't get the names
You
of the
don't,
kids.
you don't,
Yeah.
but that's something you could ask the, school nurse to make sure it gets spread around. Because, there's a lot of kids out there. And I will take this back to the community chest too,
Mhm.
that we may be able to put our money, you know, strategically different. Because what we send, we ask that it be used for Dummerston girls.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's $500 a year is only gonna cover one girl. So I'll do my part.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, that was a good point about it being a new fiscal year.
Yeah.
Moving on, the listers are asking us to approve an amendment to the grand list, the 2017 grand list. And
Do we need the dollar amount or just the name?
I think where is it? Okay, sure. I think we can just have a motion.
It should be, there was another
No,
thing with it.
I think
That's
this is all they sent, I think.
So I guess I'll move that we approve the request. Trying to think of how to do this. To amend the grand list that we received from the listers for the Newton, Carrie A. and Joseph B. Newton property.
I'd second that.
Okay, discussion. They had been, this is removed 21% rental use. What does that mean?
What happens is the state sends down the numbers on their HS 122, and we had received a notification that they had 21% rental. Then in subsequent weeks, we received one to remove that.
Okay.
So I don't know if they amended their taxes or what, but the state is very slow this year, and that probably wouldn't have even happened,
Mhm.
so.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so I'd be happy to know we've approved this. There we go. Okay, there's a request, a catering request from Wyndham Wines to cater a wedding at the Scott Farm on August August
Why don't I
26th.
first,
right.
I'll move that we,
I wrote it down, I was gonna try and remember.
I move that we recess the select board meeting and convene as a liquor control board
I'll second that.
to
Okay,
hear this request.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Here we are, the liquor control board. All right.
And I'm gonna
I
move
was
that
thinking
we,
we should have a beer when we,
I think so too. I'm gonna move that we approve Wyndham Wine's request for an event at the Scott Farm on 8/26,
right,
from 3:30 to 7 o'clock.
Or is it 3 to 7?
3:30 to 7 is what it says.
7,
on the
Okay,
application.
yep. I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now,
Now we will adjourn as the liquor control board and reconvene as I move we reconvene as the select board.
I'll second that motion.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, there we are, back in business. We have unfinished business. Oh, no, wait, where'd that go? Oh, we have bids for the stacking conveyor. The stacking conveyor that was added to our agenda. We have 2 bids for the stacking conveyor. I don't know how deep in the weeds you want to go on this, but they're,
I'll move we accept the bid from Mike Fitzpatrick of Fitzpatrick Trucking for $1,600 for the stacking conveyor.
I'll second that.
okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right,
And just note, there were other bids, but this was the
this was the high bid.
highest bid. Yep.
17, let's just go ahead, let's just sign this to make it look good. Unfinished business, we still have, a discussion on Miller Fund investments.
Well, I guess I'd like to address this and acknowledge, first of all, that Zeke and I spoke a little bit a couple of days ago about this, and my thought is it would be nice to get somebody else in here to advise us as to how to invest this, somebody who's disinterested. And we talked about brokers and investment advisors and what they charge. My suggestion was actually that we consider asking Jack Davidson, the president of Trust Company of Vermont and a longtime Dummerston resident, to visit with us. And Trust Company of Vermont does not solicit institutional funds because boards change, and it's hard to keep a board, all members of a board happy. Zeke thought that was a good idea. I had another matter going with Jack, and actually visited with him this morning. And he is agreeable to speak with us. I suggested that perhaps, I'll be away next meeting, perhaps we do so on our meeting of August 2nd. But I think Jack's perspective would be excellent. And I think, I said that when Zeke and I spoke, and I said to Jack, I think that given the size of the board tonight, I don't think it would be appropriate for us to make any decision at this time.
Right. Any thoughts?
No?
Okay, all right, I agree that,
Maybe that should go on under upcoming agendas then also.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I think we should look at other investments, so it's earning more than, what was it?
0.18%. 0.18%, yeah. And what I suggested would increase that to about 12-fold. And again, then we could tell the school nurse about how much money she has to spend every year.
I mean, I think you have a good idea to have somebody come in and address it. I don't know that we'd have to discuss that at another agenda, I think we just should have somebody come in.
And again, he's not gonna be looking to
Right,
to manage the money.
okay. Right, so we'll just keep that going. Any more on that?
No.
Okay,
Was there anything we had to do with the storm damage?
no, we did.
We did the standard grant,
We sent in a request.
and you just sent in a request, okay,
Yeah.
nothing else we have to do on that for that? Okay.
Nothing,
Okay.
right, other than they have to document all the repairs that were done
Yeah.
and time and materials and
Okay, but there's nothing we have to vote on,
not,
okay,
not that came
okay, yep,
across our, nothing that was in our packet. So just because it's an ongoing item on our agenda, increasing participation in town government or the town meeting. We did get a letter from Suzanne Weinberg with some ideas, and she was saying she'd be willing to sit on a committee or group to work on coming up with some ideas for that. So, anybody else wants to get involved, they can let us know.
I think that one should probably also be put under upcoming agendas, because Hugh is, this is Hugh's idea, and he's not
Sure.
here, so.
Mhm. Right. Or we leave it under unfinished business.
Okay,
and it
sure.
keeps coming up. Is there any other business? Jean, any
No,
last?
no thanks.
Okay,
I'll move we adjourn then.
I'll second that motion.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.